Hi everyone, my name is Dawson and I own a marketing agency that helps dentists increase their implant and Invisalign production. If you're interested in that, feel free to book a free call at the link below. We'll talk about your situation and see if you can join our 90-day profit program. If that's something you're interested in, feel free to book that. And without further ado, let's jump right into the video. One of my favorite things to do is talk about the bigger picture. I know in a lot of my videos, we get really in detail, talk about tactics, go into specific targeting, get really into the nitty-gritty. But in this video, I want to talk more in broad terms. I want to talk more about sweeping strokes of what you can apply to your marketing now in order to get better results. Don't take it from me. Although I've run multiple campaigns, helped many dentists across the United States with both implant and Invisalign. Today, I want you to take some advice from some of these legends. We have Sun Tzu, who is an ancient military general. We have Ray Dalio, who is a billionaire hedge fund manager. And we have Dr. Robert Chaldini, who is a professor of psychology. Today, we're going to look at some of the things that they have to say and how we can apply it to our marketing campaign. So the first book here is The Art of War by Sun Tzu. For those of you who don't know, Sun Tzu is an ancient military general. His purpose in this book was to create a strategy that he could pass down his lineage to enable him to stay in power, not him to stay in power, but for his country to prevail. And so he went into all this detail. It's actually fascinating read if you want to check it out. But today we're going to look at how we can apply this to dental marketing. This is widely known as one of the biggest business strategy books today. It was actually picked up in the 18th century. Someone translated it over and was like, wow, that's a really good book. And today it's being used by business owner after business owner to perfect their business strategy. Sun Tzu said, if you don't know yourself and don't know the enemy, you will succumb to every battle. If you know yourself or you know the enemy, but not both, then you'll win about 50% of the time. But if you know yourself and you know the enemy, you win absolutely every battle. Now, you're not fighting with patients, we're not fighting anyone, but this directly applies to dental marketing. The reason being, if you know yourself, if you know how the practice is structured and you know your patient, you're going to be much more successful than just being clueless about one or the other. So let's break this down. What does your practice look like in terms of the marketing side? What are your systems that you have in place to acquire new patients? Do you have numbers top of mind for, on average, how many leads do we bring in a month? What's our booking rate for these new leads that we contact? Out of those leads, what is the likelihood of them to accept a case from us? How is that different from just a regular patient that we get through word of mouth? All these numbers need to be top of mind if you want to be maximizing your production. On the flip side, you really got to understand what your patients are thinking. One of my favorite quotes here comes from Dr. L. Percy. He owns a successful Clear Choice Center over in Washington. And he says, you need to meet your patient's mind before you meet your patient's mouth. This is critical because just like Sun Tzu said, you need to understand your patient. You got to know your patient before they actually sign up for care. If you don't find out the real reason why the patient is in the chair, maybe it's their daughter's graduation, maybe they just got divorced and they're kind of back on the market again, they want to look and feel confident again. If you don't know that underlying reason that made them get in the chair that day, you ultimately won't be able to get them signed up for care. Knowing that underlying reason, that underlying why, is going to separate you from other dentists who just care about getting the operation done. If you're able to connect with that patient on that emotional level and really find out why they're in that chair, then that's going to work wonders for you in your practice, but also for them, because then they can connect with you on a deeper level. This is another quote from Sun Tzu. Now, the general who wins a battle makes many calculations in his temple air. The battle is fought. The general who loses a battle makes but few calculations beforehand. Thus, do many calculations lead to victory, and few calculations to defeat. How much more no calculations at all? It is by attention to this point that I, Sun Tzu, can foresee this likely to win or lose. This is such a powerful quote because just one of my favorite quotes is by Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. He's Mr. Wonderful. That's kind of his stage name, if you will. He says, if you don't know your numbers, you're screwed. This is critical for any business. If you, like I was saying before, don't know the average number of leads you guys get, if you don't know how many of those leads turned into patients, ultimately you're not going to get the results that you wanted, but you don't have a system that is being maximized to its fullest potential. If you know, hey, we get a 50% booking rate from the leads that are coming in that actually schedule the appointment, then it's time to take a look at, okay, what's our creative? What is the photo, what's the video that we're presenting to these patients in order to bring them in? Because if it's 50%, if it's lower, then there's something you got to change in order to make that higher, in order to ultimately increase the funnel back here so it increases at the end as well. Just a small example there of what you need to know in terms of the numbers. If you want to run a successful marketing campaign, you need to forecast the numbers ahead of time. It's important to remember that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. If you put a little into the planning process, just a little bit into making the calculations, you're only going to get a little bit out. If you go the whole 9 yards, if you really embody and really put onto paper what that marketing plan is and you're specific, then it's going to reap its rewards in full. And with that plan, it's important to execute, because if you have a great plan but don't execute, then nothing happens. Execute. One more tip to making your plan is to have SMART goals. Now, SMART is an acronym standing for a specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. Having goals that encompass or follow those guidelines are going to get you closer to actually achieving them. Our next points come from The Psychology of Influence by Robert Chaldini. If you've not read this book, please do. Let's jump right into the first point. So Dr. Chaldini has an entire chapter on something called the liking bias. And this is just the reality of when people like you, it's a lot easier for them to purchase or to decide to go through with you. So when it comes to dental marketing, when it comes to showing ads on Facebook designed to bring you patients in, this is no different. Liking bias is definitely in play. One example he has is from a salesman in Detroit named Joe Girard. Now, Joe Girard is, according to the Guinness Book of World Records, the best salesman on the planet. Now, he sells on average, any day he works, over 5 vehicles. That's a lot. If any of you have had any experience or know someone that has in-car sales, that is incredible to have. In some places, even a 5-car week. But to have 5 cars a day is absolutely ridiculous. He deserves that title. When he was asked what his secret was when he was being interviewed for this greatest salesman in the world, he gave this one simple point. He said, give them a fair price and be the person they want to buy from. First part goes without saying, but the second part, just being the person they want to buy from. Think about it from the patient's perspective. If we shift over to dentistry, think about the type of dentist that someone would want to work with when doing a procedure like implants or even half or full arch. They want someone to really connect with them, really understand, and have the expertise behind placing that implant. That's a big deal. So thinking about that when you're creating the video that you're going to show or creating content when they're in for the appointment, having that top of mind is going to be critical in showing and really expressing to the patient that you are that person. Another chapter in Robert Cialdini's book is called reciprocity. Now, reciprocity is the cognitive bias of if I give you something, you feel a tendency and a desire to give back and to reciprocate. Now, this tactic is so powerful that a lot of successful business owners have protected their employees behind it. For example, one of them is Sam Walton, founder of Walmart. He told his employees very specifically, very strictly, when they're working with a new vendor, or a supplier, he says, never take a pen or a trinket or a handkerchief that they offer you. Even if it's, you can feel free to use my pen. He always said, never take anything from them because he doesn't want that to play a part in the role that they make in the buying process. So use common sense. Please don't do anything unethical, but really think about how you can use reciprocity to not only benefit the people that you're serving, but also your practice. Our next points come from probably my favorite book, Principles by Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio is a hedge fund manager and a billionaire. If you've not read this book, this is something I actually give to most of my clients. I don't know if I'll do it in the future, but please, 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 please read this book. One of my favorite things in this book is Ray talks about a very specific cycle that everyone goes through, every business goes to in order to increase or adapt. So if we apply this to implants, what we really need to do is have clear goals on what we can expect. When we run into a problem, it's important to diagnose the actual issue. Is it the lead quality? Are we not attracting the right types of people? Is it the copy? Is it something on the ad that is turning people off? What is it that is the actual root problem? Fixing that is going to obviously resolve, in which you can iterate and come out of it even stronger. Now, if you deal with a symptom, I can make a whole video on this, diagnosing a problem. If you go after just solve the symptom instead of the root problem, you're going to get stuck in that process and not increase your revenue. Such a powerful book. Recommend anyone read it. First half, he talks about the story of his life and really what it looks like to face challenges, to feel certain about something, but it just not working out. And he actually has a great section on how to build a team. If anyone is struggling with attracting the right types of people and training them just within the office itself, highly recommend looking through his team building content that he has. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you're interested in growing your implant or Invisalign production, look at the details in the link in the description. Hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to give it a thumbs up. Leave any questions that you have in the comment section below. Consider subscribing. Consider joining the Consulting with Dawson family. I upload videos like this on a regular basis. If you have a specific topic you want me to cover, feel free to drop that in the comment section below. And until next time, I will see you later.